Basically, the biggest breakthrough came when I was just like, the pain of not expressing and the pain of not doing my art outweighed the pain of like my fears and my self-doubts and everything that was holding me back. And it just came to the point where I was just like, this is my life work. I have got to push past this. Like, I will never forgive myself if I'm on my deathbed and I haven't, to the best of my ability, tried to pull out my authentic expression. Even knowing that and going through what I was going through, it's hard to just flip a switch. It wasn't like one moment where I was like, oh, okay, I'm good now. It was a combination of my mindful practices like meditation, like journaling, spending time in nature, exercise. That's almost number one. Reading, listening to podcasts. It was a slow thing, so.
Welcome back to another episode of A Path Unfolding. My guest today is Nicole Barton, also known as Zen Selekta. Nicole, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
How'd
I'm
I
happy
do?
to be here.
How did I say it? Is it good?
You said gracia perfectly. You did, I think, accidentally say Zen Selector instead of Selekta.
All right. So we got that right. Okay, well,
No worries.
We'll get it right. There we go. Well, hey, yeah, welcome. I've been really excited to have you on the podcast. Like, I've seen you play and got to stage manage you twice now. Once at Lightning in a Bottle a couple years back, and then just recently at the Texas Eclipse Festival, and you have like really captured my attention and been like, wow, what a performer, what a great show, what a performance. And I just want to say, like, what, that is, it really drew me in. And the more I've learned about you, I just think you're an amazing performer and DJ. I love your selection. Obviously you're Selekta, you're living up to it. So yeah, I wanted to have you on and tell your story. So yeah, let's dive in, set the table. Tell me a little bit how you got into music and how that whole journey started for you.
Yeah, I mean, it started when I was really young. I guess like the earliest memory I have is just being like elementary school, just obsessed with music, and like that's kind of like when I have like my earliest memory of like, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I didn't really know what it meant because I was so young. I remember like watching Hannah Montana on TV, and like I felt like this feeling within me, like, oh my gosh, like I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to be a performer, but like I was so young, and I'm like, man, that just sounds so far-fetched, and like, oh, wouldn't everyone want to be a rock star? So I just thought, like, I chalked up that feeling to like, oh, like everybody wants to be a rock star, but that's kind of like the earliest recollection I have of, just my thoughts about getting into the music. But then I found electronic music a little later down, like, well, in middle school. So I was like a teen. And I was like, whoa, like, I love this. Like, I tried singing when I was younger, and like, I do have a voice, but like, for some reason, it just wasn't like, like, I want to sing. But like, once I found electronic music, like, I just became so obsessed. And, I mean, I remember being like 12, 13, and I was like looking at, footage from like Tomorrow World and festivals, and my sister's 6 years older than me, so like she was already going to these events, showing me this music. I remember she gave me like a glove, like a light show. Yes. Yeah, I was like 12 and in the bathroom to like Flux Pavilion, and I was like, whoa, So it just like, I don't know, and that's when it kind of started boiling within me. I was like, I think like I could be a really good DJ. Like I love this music. I'm obsessed with this. So I just started really like collecting music at that point. I would spend lots of time on LimeWire, just illegally downloading music, and that kind of went through into high school. And then in high school, I did kind of find like this niche, this style of dubstep that I like to play, even though I love all genres. And but then I was like, okay, this is really like my niche. Like I really like this, this particular style. But I don't know, I was still in high school, I was involved in sports, so I didn't really get my start till after I graduated high school.
Hmm.
And yeah, and even through high school, I still thought it was a little bit of a far-fetched idea, but I don't know. I started on like my spiritual path in high school, and I started to develop a new way of thinking. Like, no, like this isn't far fetched. Like, if you put your energy and time into something, like it will come to fruition. And then I graduated high school, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. Just super stubborn, I'm going for it. Definitely scared my parents a little bit. um yeah, sorry if that was long-winded.
No, it's great. No, I guess I have two questions. What sports did you play?
What sports didn't I play?
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So like swimming when I was really young for years, tennis, soccer, track and field, cross country. I think that's
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Did any of that cross over into sort of the work ethic or the training or the learning of music?
You know, good point. Because I have never actually thought about that. I've actually, in the past, beat myself up about not having gotten started earlier because I
Mm.
meet a lot of people that have like, oh, I've been producing, whatever, or playing an instrument since they were super young. Oh, it used to kill me. I used to be so like, it used to be like a regret. Like, can't believe I didn't get started earlier. But now that you say that, like sports definitely had a lot to do with, building mental strength and discipline and working hard, all
Mm.
things that definitely translate into, working on a craft, honing your craft.
Awesome.
So yeah, definitely.
Love that. Yeah. Yeah. And then you mentioned your spiritual path. What did that look like?
Well, I would say it started probably, I was probably like 15 or so when I started meditating. I remember I was just going through the teen thing, like um I was actually I was like on the brink of feeling kind of depressed. Like I was just dealing with like a lot, like school, just being a teenager and like managing all of this. And I remember just thinking, I was like, yo, I gotta do something because like my mental health is suffering right now. And I was like looking online and it was like, try meditating. I remember the first time I meditated, I mean, it was like I found like a whole new world, and it's like I really connected to something deeper. I was able to just um I don't know, yeah, like heal, and I immediately felt better like after that first session. And then I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, what is this? What is this that I just connected to? I was actually atheist as like a young middle school as a young kid. Like I grew up Christian. I even did the communion, and then like I became a young teen, and I was like, I don't believe in anything, and then yeah, and then things changed. I was like, no, for me, I'm like, there's definitely something more, and it lives and resides within us. And I think that first time that I meditated was the first time I connected to that, and it just felt so profound. And that is what kickstarted my spiritual journey and awareness.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say the other thing about the sports is like watching you play. You're it sounds interesting, but it's like you're very physical. You're very
Yeah.
connected musically to physically what's happening in your body, and you're illustrating the sound
Yeah.
with your dance moves and your efforts, and it's like I think that goes back to the spirituality. It seems like you seem like you're very open, you're very in tune with what's happening both inside of yourself but also externally, so it seems to make sense. So have you been meditating for ever since then, or very regularly?
Yeah, I would like to be more disciplined with it, if I'm
Hmm.
being completely honest. But yes, I have meditated off and on ever since then.
Yeah,
100% it's a practice that I rely on. And, I do think I could get better at it and make
sure.
sure I'm doing it every day. But yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah, same here. I mean, I think if we're all being honest, like you're going to go through
Right.
those times where life gets busy and that's just not the thing. I think it's a tool, and when life gets crazy or you're just swimming in your own thoughts, right? You're like, okay, I know how to get back to my breath. I know how to get quiet. I
Yes.
know how to let the muck settle in the brain and go. So is this
Exactly.
how you came up with your moniker Zen Selekta?
Yeah, I mean, basically, because, as through learning about spirituality, I ended up learning about, Zen Buddhism. And I mean, there's many different, religions that I am interested in, even though I am not like dedicated to a specific religion. I just like pull what I like from each, um, all of the teachings. And, I really like Zen teachings in particular, and have was very inspired by that. And, I did also feel like a calling that my purpose through making music and being an artist could be to help others. Yeah, just help others with their mental health, and if they want to be on a spiritual journey. But I really wanted to like share what I learned, because it so much elevated my quality of life, that I wanted that for, everybody else. And so I just thought, what better way to, live out my passion and weave in like this purpose into my project. And so, yeah, I was just Zen at first. For like a year, I was just Zen. And then I was like, okay, thinking about the business aspect of things, like there needs to be more, because yeah, I mean, you Google Zen and a bunch of like meditation spas come up,
Yeah, it's gonna be
and
a
like
long road with that one.
right. So yeah, I was just Zen at first, and then later came the Selecta. Yeah.
That's interesting. So when you got were you living in Atlanta at that time? Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I actually was born and raised in Atlanta. A little bit outside
Okay.
actually. It's called Gwinnett County, 45 minutes northeast of the heart of Atlanta, which is where I
Wow.
grew up. So yeah, at that point I was still there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I did get started then. The
Cool.
last year, yeah.
Nice. So yeah. So then let's kind of fast forward a little bit. You've been
Sure.
DJing for a few years. Things start to pick up. When did you start to kind of get break out of that local scene? How was it like for you there? Kind of starting to travel and get bookings, and
Sure.
how
I
did that?
mean, yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I guess just yeah, so I got into the local scene just by going to shows and networking, and becoming familiar with promoters, and they
Yeah.
gave me a chance. And then I think I remember, yeah, one of my first like out of state bookings, they started happening in North Carolina. And I guess, I mean, I made sure to promote myself online, which I think is how promoters heard of me. But that was crazy. That was a crazy moment. I mean, your first out of state gig is like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah. Heck yeah.
yes.
Now you've definitely, like, I think, kind of mastered your craft of DJing here. Like I said, your stage presence is phenomenal. And then in my homework, I saw you released your debut EP, which is Ikigai. So that must have been a big moment to kind of, now you can say like, I've released an EP, and kind of putting out your own musical production. Tell me more about that.
My first EP was one of the biggest breakthroughs of my career, mentally, spiritually. Because yeah, there was a time like when I first got started with my project, I kind of had beginner's mind, like just kind of blissfully unaware of the intricacies of the industry, and blissfully unaware of like music making rules, and like how you really need to um I mean, rules are meant to be broken, but I just mean that I was just creating more freely, I guess. And I guess then through my journey, like you just learn more about like what's correct when you're making music, like how you should be doing things and like what you need to do in order to sound good, and just like realizing all these things like make you realize like how long you have to go.
Yeah.
At some point in my career, I fell into a bit of a mental rut, just kind of in a bit of a cycle of like doubting myself and having fear and comparing myself to others, and I was super stagnant. And yeah, sometimes it would even prevent me from showing up and trying to express and create art, which it was horrible. But that EP was kind of like the breakthrough of that. Like I finally like pushed through that, and I completed a work of art, which I felt like was long overdue, but we're all on our own paths with their own divine timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm super happy with how it came out. I'm more excited about my upcoming works that I have, but like that was a super important moment in my career, and yeah, I hold it dear in my heart.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there I want to dig into. Is like,
yeah.
I mean, like you said, we're all on our own path. There's this like
Right.
imposter syndrome, no matter what you do. I mean, straight up for this podcast, I've dealt with that. I had a version of this already, 1.0, recorded 6 episodes, looked at it, was like, you know what, this is not the way I want this to be, and I put it aside, and I had to really think about it and iterate on it and go like, what am I trying to do here? And like, sometimes you have to start and fail and not be good and be like, this is bad. I'm going to have to get better. I'm going to have to work through these issues. And like, so yeah, tell me more about like, where do you think those breakthroughs came from? Or what were some of just the key turning points where you were like, okay, like, it may not be the masterpiece of my all masterpieces, but I'm gonna keep going.
Right. Yeah, I do think I suffered a bit from perfectionism and just like not wanting to suck, but like truly when you get started like at something, like you're just gonna have to not be it just sucks to suck, and you gotta push through it. And like, but even those works then, like they're still gonna resonate with someone, and that's still your authentic expression. And like, just basically the biggest breakthrough came when I was just like, the pain of not expressing and the pain of not doing my art outweighed the pain of like my fears and my self-doubts and everything that was holding me back. And it just came to the point where I was just like, dude, this is my life work. Like, I have got to push past this. Like, I will never forgive myself if I'm on my deathbed and I haven't, to the best of my ability, tried to pull out my authentic expression. And, but even knowing that and going through what I was going through, it's hard to just flip a switch. And I would say it wasn't like one moment where I was like, oh, okay, I'm good now. Like, it's honestly, this experience lasted a few years, and it was a combination of my mindful practices like meditation, like journaling, spending time in nature where you're just kind of just you in nature, like no distractions, just it's a good time to process things and let go. So doing things like that, exercise, that's almost number one. Just some form of movement was like really key in my mental health, in healing myself. So yeah, I would say it was a combination of all of those things, and reading tons of books and listening to podcasts.
Love it.
Yeah, advice from other artists, and it was a slow thing.
And so then the aptly named Ikigai of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, what you're good at, finding your passion, mission, vocation, and profession, which is I mean, I would say, in a self-fulfillment sense, like our life's work, our mission is to find that thing or to keep
Yeah.
chipping away at it. And it may change from chapter to chapter of your life. I think that's one. It also kind of throws back to the Japanese
Hmm.
Zen Selekta vibes. Yeah, I mean, is that something that you discovered? Do you feel like that? Are you really happy with the name?
Oh, yeah. So yes, so it does tie in with the Zen, and I am very, inspired by Japanese cultures and Zen. But yeah, I think I actually read the book Ikigai. There is a book. I recommend it. And right around the time that I was like writing the music, I had no idea what to call my EP, and I was just like, well, like this is my ikigai. And like in the book it talks about like the blue zones of the world, like right, like the people that have lived the longest, and they talk about like what they do every day, and like their ikigai being one of them. Like they, even people in retirement are still practicing their ikigai, so it's like part of the thing of longevity. So I think I just really I'm in a healthy way, I think, obsessed with this idea of being the best version of you that you can be, living the best possible life that you can. And I was very inspired by that concept. And I think, that's why I decided to call it that. The entire EP doesn't necessarily like follow the Ikigai theme, but I just really liked what it represented.
Yeah.
At the time, though, like it does tie in with Zen. Um, I was taking a liking to like Asian themes, like even like artwork
Hmm.
and teachings, like for my branding. But I've actually moved away from that because I'll still be Zen Selecta, but
Yeah.
I'm not Asian, and
Yeah.
so like recently this year I've become like kind of use my like authentic heritage, my
Hmm.
Spanish heritage, and try to like use that more in the way I present like my art and branding, because I just feel it's more authentic to me. However, I still am very inspired by.
Yeah, I mean, even with Gravitas, when we've been releasing, quote unquote world music, we started to ask some more questions. Does this producer really understand the roots of where this is coming from? I think it's amazing to let the world inspire you and reflect that back and pull it in and project it back.
Definitely,
I think that's smart of you, and I totally understand where you're coming from. So,
for
well,
sure.
so that was a big milestone, and then you've
Yes.
had a big, 2023, 2024. I feel like your bookings have really leveled up. Your name has leveled up. I think people are seeing
Thank
you,
you.
giving you your flowers and what you need, what you deserve for all of your hard work and sort of leading the scene in a really cool way. I mean, I think I would be remiss to say like you're a woman on stage, and for a very long time in electronic music and beyond, there's not been enough women, and not been enough people of color, and not been people of different sexual orientations. I think we're starting to fix some of that. I had a
Yeah.
big role in Closy's career and her come up, and we saw like how much she was able to inspire people. So I'm really glad to see you doing that. And in the same breath, you're talented in your own right. Nobody's handing you anything. You're earning this, and it's great. And so like that is super cool to see, the diversification of the stage, the proper representation of people on stage, so that we can really hear all voices and see it in the world reflected back to us through the artists that are producing the art. And it kind of ties into the conversation of that, quote unquote cultural appropriation and who's bringing
Mm-hmm.
what to the table. So I'm really excited to see you taking the lead. And with that, you've got this new EP in the works. Tell me, what are you calling it? Why are you calling it that? And tell me kind of what you got going on there.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's called the Mind Killer EP. Basically, I started writing it at the top of this year. I knew that this year one of my goals was to complete another EP, but it wasn't like I'm writing a self mastery EP. Like it just sort of happened that way. the whole EP is kind of like the stages of my self mastery. And so it is a 4-track EP, and yeah, I think like I've really gotten a good headspace about creating at the top of this year. And I was just, but still like, you know, dealing with a little bit of like my past, mental struggles, but you know, a lot better. And the first track is titled Focus. I hope you don't mind that I just kind of tell you a little bit about each track.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Absolutely. 100%.
Cool. Yeah. So Focus, kind of like the first stage in my self-mastery, like it opens with a meditation script. It tells you to focus on your breath and arrive to the present moment, which is step one in creating. You need to be fully present. Like you can't be anxious about, you know, what's going to happen in this session or upset about past sessions. Like you need to be arrive here and be fully aware in the moment. And yeah, so that's kind of how that track was birthed. And I was, yeah, like you're in the flow state, which is kind of what I needed to hone in on. And yeah, so that's what that track is like. Nice. And yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Thank you. So yeah, it is like starts a little slower, but like it's got a cool bass line. And then the Mind Killer, the title track, is the second track. And that one was born shortly after I watched my favorite film of all time, Dune 2. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Dune fan. I'm actually reading the
nice
second book in the series, The Messiah.
Oh, so sick.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. And the David Lynch film is just banana weird pancakes. And these remakes are, I think, you know, some of the best movies being made of in our generation right now. So,
right.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite film of all time. So
awesome.
Yeah, I was super inspired after watching that, and there's the one scene where Lady Jessica, even in Dune 1, it's like her thing. She's like, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. You know, and I was like, dang, like that hit deep. You know, because my fears and my self-doubts were definitely like killing my mind. They were preventing me from showing up. They were preventing me from being present and creating authentically. So the song itself is kind of like, you know, confrontational. And so like I kind of picked a more like aggressive sound palette, a little bit more of a dark sound palette. It's like I'm kind of like facing these limitations that I put on myself. And yeah, so there's actually a sample that I found on freesound.org of someone saying, I must not fear, fear is the mind killer. So that's sampled in there. And yeah, I kind of picked like also a sound palette that I think really, like the sound palette was 100% inspired by Dune. And of course, like what I was going through. But it's like even like the sounds of like the spice harvesting machines, like there's kind of like stuff like that and like desert kind of atmosphere. Yeah, I love that one. I've gotten probably some of the best feedback on that one out of like all the tracks with the people I've shared it with. And then the third track is called Break Free, which, you know, I'm sure yeah, the next step is, you know, I've broken free of these limitations that I put on my mind, and holy shit, it feels so good. And so there is kind of like this tension and release with the song, you know, like I feel like the drop is like a big release of tension, and like there's like this vocal sample that's like, I feel so free, you know, and it's just, to me, the song is kind of like euphoric, and it's like, it just really encapsulates that feeling of, yeah, breaking free. So, and then the fourth track, this one I didn't even finish till recently, but I really wanted this one to be like okay, I've broken free and now I'm living in it. Like, and I'm stoked. And now I just want to, I'm excited. I want to create every day. And that's the mindset that I was in when I wrote this fourth track. I was just like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm finally just like excited to show up and create from an authentic place. And I'm so stoked. So like I wanted to bring the energy, wanted it to be like euphoric. And I ended up writing a drum and bass tune. It's the first drum and bass tune I've ever written.
Nice.
And yeah, it's definitely got like this energy, and I did find all of the songs have female vocal samples, and I didn't really do that super intentionally. I will say, like, maybe by the fourth song I was like, okay, I think I should just keep that theme. I think it'll sound good. And the vocal sample is like, says, I've been running away all my life, trying to pick up the pace and feel alive. And that resonated with me. It's just a spliced vocal, but it's really beautiful. And, I felt like I was running away from my talents my whole life. Now I'm not. And I'm ready to pick up the pace, pedal to the metal. I'm ready to like manifest all my ideas. Like, let's go,
Love
let's go fast. Yeah. So.
What is the title of that fourth track?
Oh, Feel Alive. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel alive, and like, yeah, it's definitely like the space that I'm in right now.
I am super stoked on this idea. I want to dig in a little bit more. One thing that I think we should note is that there's really strong, personal, deep, internal themes that you're expressing with your music. And as a label owner, as someone that gets demos, that is asked to give feedback to people, I'm like, tell me your story. Let me feel something. Like, get vulnerable, get real. Like, I want to be moved. I want to feel you express. Like, we all have these internal fears and struggles and joys and wins, and music helps us bring that to the surface and really tap into that energy and those emotions and feel them more deeply. And that is the spice of life. Like, that is what makes us feel alive, is these emotions, whether it's bad or good. The deeper you feel the sadness and the happiness, like, just widens the breadth of your total experience. And like, so, and music is such a powerful tool for that. And that, and like, you're tapping into and digging, your feelings, and you're really digging deep and going like, oh, I really got to go deep inside of myself and really express this. And what we know is that when you do that, other people are going to feel that on the other side. Huge, huge, huge deal. And that is a massive, massive artistic breakthrough, because when we're early on in our journeys as artists or whatever, creators, all we really kind of know to do is like mimic other people and sort of copy and learn from them as we master our craft. But once you start to master the craft, then the challenge is really to totally express yourself and what you truly feel. And that's a whole nother hard, challenging journey to be like, okay, now I can write, but what do I write and why do I write it? And I'm like, whoa, shit, it's going to get real now.
Hey, really, really well said. Through this journey of self-mastery, like, it's been, the life of a creator is really self-exploration, like, it's, definitely, you're going to face parts of yourself you didn't know were there. And it's a very spiritual practice itself, the making of music, of any art. And you have to dig deep. And that's the best way to do it, because like you said, then you're going to connect with other people because they feel that and maybe they relate with it. So. Wow.
That's so
really
cool.
Well said.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing the work, because
thank you.
It's not easy. It's easy to distract yourself. It's easy to come up with excuses. It's easy to say, I'm not good enough, or this isn't worth it, or nobody cares, or it won't matter, or there's too much music being made, whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck all that. Do it for yourself. And on the other side is this like really cool rainbow of like, connection and community and sharing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Exactly.
Wow. Cool. So
yeah.
So that's exciting. When is that dropping? When's that coming out?
So there's not an exact date yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna be submitting it to a label, and fingers crossed, because it's like someone's label that I've looked up to for a while. I don't really want to like name drop right
Sure.
now,
Yeah.
but just like fingers crossed. But I have definitely, other options if that doesn't work out. But yeah, I think I want to find a home for this one. I've always self-released my music, and I do think that it could be a good move just to potentially expose my music to another fan base. And I mean, I definitely see the power in self-releasing, but I do still think label releases can be helpful, and there's a time for both. And I do think I want to give this one a label release. So, the thing is that labels have their schedules and stuff. So, I want to get it out soon though, because this is just an expression that I want to go ahead and put out. So I'm already moving on to like my next, project, of course, but like I really want it to just be out there. Cause it's like sometimes the longer you sit on a work as an artist, like it can maybe start to not resonate as much, because you're changing and evolving so much as an artist. I mean, I know this will always be authentic to me, but like I just want to release it sooner than later.
I hear you. I'd love to hear about your creative process. Like when you're getting in the studio, are you getting in like early in the morning or the afternoon or whenever? Do you have sort of a warm up routine? Are you
Mm-hmm.
starting like making a certain tea or doing some yoga before? Like, do you have any sort of routines or things that get you primed to do your best work?
Yeah. Well, this year has been kind of a journey in figuring that out, because just this year I started doing music full time. So I've had to learn how to be a full time creator, and there's been a lot of trials, like trial and error this year. Like I've tried waking up earlier. I've tried, like different. I've experimented with doing my creative work at different parts of the days, and like I've really had to experiment with my schedule.
Mm.
Yeah. So I mean, this is pretty fresh, because like that just happened in January, and I would say, like overall, I need to hit one of my mindfulness practices. So like either meditate, journal, do a nature walk, or even listen to like a grounding sort of podcast. So get my mind right, 100%. And exercising helps with that a lot. I exercise every day, so I move my body in one way or another every day. Right now, I've been actually doing a little bit more of my work like kind of earlier in the afternoon, and like doing like an evening workout, splitting up my workday, and then and then getting back into my creative work after that, just because it's been really beneficial to like start my day by like getting a hard task done,
Hmm.
instead of like going through like this like working out and then making lunch and then showering and doing a spiritual practice and then getting into my work.
Yeah.
I find sometimes I was a little drained by the time I got
Mm.
down to doing my creative work. So yeah, my mornings typically look like me making a matcha latte, or a coffee, and it just depends on my mood. Matcha lattes are a little more zen, and when I
Hmm.
need a little more kick in the ass, I go for the coffee. And then I'll typically hit at this point like one of my spiritual practices. So
Yeah.
reading can be spiritual, so whatever. I
Totally.
named them for you. I'll do one of those, and then I'll get into my work. Then I'll kind of take that like evening break where I exercise, which is great. I can kind of work out whatever was bothering me, maybe in what had happened earlier in my day, and then I arrive for maybe like my second session or like work, deep work of the day. Definitely feeling, the endorphins are flowing. I'm definitely in a lot more clear state of mind after I've exercised.
Mm.
But yeah, that's kind of what my day to day looks like preparing for the studio.
Once you're actually sitting down in the chair, you know, and we just talked about your EP and these themes, do you are you thinking, let's just say, hey, you're looking at the blank page, so to speak, you're kind of, are you more thinking like, okay, what do I actually want to write about? Or do you start to experiment with some sounds and then those sounds might key off like, oh, okay, I can take it in this direction, or this makes sense like that, or a little bit of
Yeah.
both?
So I go to my inspiration island in my head and I'm like, okay, what am I feeling inspired by today? Like
Hmm.
maybe today I'm inspired by my trip from last week, where I played here and I saw this, or I felt this from the crowd, or I heard another artist play this sample and I got inspired by that music. So I just go to my inspiration island. I'm
Nice.
like, yeah, sometimes the inspiration is what I'm going through in my life. Sometimes it's something I've absorbed, whether it be a book, a conversation, an experience in my travels. But it's always going to start there. And yeah, then from there, that's when I'm going to start thinking, well, once I have the idea, the inspiration, and by the way, never wait for inspiration to come to you because then it may never come. And
Yeah.
that was a lesson I had to learn because there was a time where I was like, I'm not feeling inspired. Like, no, like you make it happen or it comes. Sometimes it even comes. If I go to my inspiration island, I don't find anything. If I just kind of get tinkering, like ideas will come. You just need to show up. But yeah,
Yeah.
then I'll just start experimenting with the sonic palette. Like for the Mind Killer, like I knew the sonic palette, like I needed to create that style of track, inspired by Dune and this like um, what I was going through. So yeah, then the sonic palette comes, and yeah, I mean, I find that laying down drums and bass is very foundational for the track, and I can kind of bang out a track a lot easier when I do set down the drums and the bass line first. However, that's not always how it works.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'm finding inspiration from a vocal sample or a melodic, but yeah, and then from there you just start the composition process and yeah,
Nice.
experimenting.
Makes sense. As someone who started as a DJ first and then kind of leveling up your productions and having played a lot of sets, and so you sort of know, how often are you writing for the stage versus sort of writing for not necessarily streaming, but like a like what's your take on that? Like,
Yeah.
or some DJs are like, you know what, I have a gap here. I really wish I had a song that was at this BPM or this transition thing. You know,
Ah, I see.
Ahi is like a master of this thing where he's just like making these insane edits to go from this BPM to this. Do
Yeah,
you
he's a
do?
wizard.
Yeah, yeah, he is a wizard. Literally, I think he is one. So,
That's funny. That's
what
awesome.
do you? How often are you making songs sort of for your DJ sets versus kind of thinking about it as like just writing for writing music?
I would say more often than not, especially, recently with kind of getting out of my own head, I needed to make sure that I was writing just for myself and from a point of authenticity. However, I did also this year kind of come into music making with an intention of I want to make music that's danceable. Like, because
Hmm.
I love to dance, and I feel like there was a point where maybe some of the music I was making was just a little like too meditational and chilled out. Like, which is great, but like for a live setting, like I wanted to play more of my music in my sets that like I could really dance to and it could
Yeah.
add to the energy in the room and work in a club, so, I'd say I'm always producing from, a point of what I want to write, but there are intentions sometimes of, hey, like I want to make something people can dance to and just recently, like with one of my songs, like this drum and bass song, like I was thinking of a way I could make it more like DJ-able, you know?
Sure.
Right, like kind of creating like a break in between the two drops, or like nothing that's too insane, like to mix into a set. Like that is important because you want people to play out your music.
Yeah.
But I would say I think a healthy dose of both
Nice.
is kind of about where I'm at, but I look forward to, now that I'm in a very healthy headspace for creating, I look forward to taking this all away. And maybe someday soon, like I'll be like, I need a track for this, just for this live setting purpose, and I'll execute it and it'll be authentic to me. But yeah.
You mentioned you love to dance, and I talked about earlier how like watching you perform is just a full-on experience. How has that stage performance evolved, or have you, from day one, were you just a maniac up there, or yes? Okay.
It was worse, honestly. Like,
oh no, not worse.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, I have always gone berserk on stage. But like even before then, like just as an attendee at these shows, like I was always the one like going crazy in the crowd. I just I love to dance. I love to express myself through movement. It might have something to do with how I was raised, because my mom is a dancer. She's been a dancer her whole life. She's Spanish, so it's very much a part of my culture. I grew up in a house where like no one was afraid to dance. Some people are a little more shy about it, but like no, not my family. And so yeah, when I get up there, the music just moves through me, and I love to express myself that way. It's also a bit of a release, because like I do deal with some anxiety, and like I just care so much about my craft that like I'll be working on my sets till the last minute, like just like tinkering, like how can I make it better? Like I just like I care so much, like I want to keep practicing. So it's like finally when I'm on stage, it's just like I let loose, like everything that I've been working on, like and like practicing, like rehearsing, like I'm just able to finally release this energy that was maybe built up. And yeah, I also feel like when the crowd sees you like authentically, like just being authentic and like losing yourself to the music on stage, like they also get that permission to do that, and then it just creates this like amazing energy exchange. Like I learned that like early on in my career is like, oh, we love when you flip your hair, or like we love your energy. And I was just like, oh, okay. And like I have noticed that when I go, like I'll go hard, and then everybody else starts going harder, and like it's awesome. It's a great way to connect even further with your audience. And through doing all of these shows, like I've also just learned how to level up the stage presence, and like what things go good in certain parts of the set, like maybe like a break where you talk to the audience, or you come out in front of the stage and like interact with them. Like I've learned a lot, and I think it's really important to be able to command a stage, and like stage presence is huge. And I'm just really thankful that it's something that comes naturally to me.
Yeah, I mean you're a conductor. I mean the DJ, the performer is the conductor, and especially for electronic music, it's like the audience is cueing off of you. And if we're doing like deep melodic tech house in a dark club, then maybe we all just want to nod our head. But with that heavy bass sound, I think people want to get into it, and so I think you're very much showing the let's do this, and like you said, it kind of gives people remission. I think that's I think that's incredibly important. I think a lot of performers maybe sometimes overlook that facet of the performance. Like obviously the music is paramount and the lighting and the video, but your energy, you're the like energy source of all of that's happening right there is like, it's a really powerful full unlock when you can give yourself permission to just go full fuck yeah, that's giving everyone else permission. And then like you said, when they're giving you that energy back, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm with it. I wanna like, if you had to describe what your headspace was, like where you go, or like when you're done with the set, are you like, wow, is it over already? Like that was crazy. Like what happened? I went to another place. Like did you all come with me? Yes. Like,
Well, I've always said to myself, I guess, the stage just feels like home to me. Like I feel right at home. Like this is my dojo. Like so I guess my headspace when I'm in it, I mean, I'm fully present. I'm fully immersed into what I'm doing. It's a euphoric feeling because I have worked so hard on my craft, and, you know, to have the opportunity to share it with people and conduct this space is an honor and a privilege. And, I mean, I guess sometimes, you know, I'm thinking about the crowd reaction, like, as well. And, you know, you do have to be able to adapt. So it's not like I, like, block everything out. But, you know, like, yeah, I'm in a really happy place. And I guess that's my headspace.
Great,
yeah.
Great. Yeah, easy. No, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean... It's fun to watch. I'll leave it at that, and I encourage everybody else if you haven't seen a Zen Selekta site. Yeah, and I think you mentioned your Spanish. I think that's kind of like one of the things I want to hit on, like that upbringing and that, you know, lack of reservation. You know, I think that, you know, different cultures are more constrained and more reserved, and maybe like, I need to be quiet. Like in Japan, like you're on the subway, it's dead quiet and nobody gets in your space, versus America, different versions of that is like, blah, 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 you know, loud and obnoxious. So it seems like that did really have an effect. Like, do you attribute anything else to that cultural upbringing and kind of any of your other flavors and styles?
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought that up. You've been bringing up a bunch of points actually within my own life that I haven't even thought about. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like my Spanish culture definitely has to do with maybe how I'm not so reserved, and I am, because I mean, Spaniards are like that, you know, we're outspoken and like it is pretty open over there. How else that culture has potentially affected me. I mean, I've been to Spain almost every year of my life since I was a child because my mom wanted me to have a good relationship with my family. She wanted me to be bilingual, which I am. And I mean, just having that experience of being in Spain we would go, like, because my mom is a teacher, we would go for like sometimes the entire summer break.
Wow.
And just being out there, I mean, just traveling in general just will keep you open and offer you so many sources of inspiration. My mom's actually been getting on to me because she really wants me to make like a Spanish themed kind of song, and I have messed with it before. I have tried to make I did make like a dubstep, like flamenco infused kind of dubstep track. I tried my hand at it a few times, but I'll keep going. But she's on my ass about it. She's like, I want to hear your flamenco electronic. I'm like, okay, Mom, okay. She talks just like that. Yeah. No, yeah. Like I there was a time where I was thinking about making a whole EP like that, but it's a little like
Yeah.
Like flamenco, that kind of music goes really well with house music.
Yeah.
Dubstep is a little more difficult. I think it can be done, but that is another thing actually. Though, like
Sure.
I do want to be multifaceted, and I do want to explore all genres. Well, all genres that interest me,
Yeah.
and there are more than dubstep. And I do want to take my project global. So I've actually recently been thinking, okay, like, how can I play in Spain? Like, because I'm sure you're familiar with Ibiza.
Oh yeah.
And just like the party scene is there, obviously, but like, you know, it's a little more catered to house and techno music and reggaeton.
Yeah.
Like dubstep and bass music, it's a bit smaller there. And
Big
so
time,
recently, right, and like I just think it would be so cool to get booked out there. And so I've been trying to think lately how I can, you know, make music that's still authentic to me, but like that gets me global.
Yeah.
You
Nice.
know,
Well,
yeah.
good luck. That it is tricky. I think that market, Europe, and it's in and of itself is
Right.
you know, they're very insulated, and you might
Sure.
have a couple crossover. It's tough, but yeah, I think like someone that I would admire in that regard would, you know, I think they're coming more from pop and electronic, but a bit Sophie Tucker. I think they've
Oh,
done some
yeah.
really interesting things with their
point.
career and who they've had remix. So maybe as you finish this EP, you could look at some remixers that might be able to do like a house version, or you know, a mid-tempo
Sure.
version of some of these songs. And
Mhm.
you know, that was kind of where I was going with that question about like writing for the stage, because as a DJ, like I love these journey sets where I'm going from 140 to mid-tempo to
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like 100 BPM, and then we might go into house and breaks, and some of those gaps are hard, you know, and I'm always like, man, if I had a track
Yeah.
that, so yeah, I'd be excited to hear it. I think, you know, again, it's very authentic to you, so that'd be exciting. I know you gotta make mama happy, right?
Oh, of course. Super important. Super important. Yeah, I definitely want to do that. I want to buy her a house in Spain, so I'm gonna
Ooh,
need this music to go global.
let's go.
You
Let's
know,
go.
right. No, but yeah, like I really do want to. I love house music. Like
Mm.
I'm serious. Like I really want to explore
Yeah.
all genres, and I do kind of feel like I boxed myself in a little bit, like with the dubstep
Yeah.
thing. Just yeah, no one is putting me in a box. I think it was just mostly me. Like I sit down to create, and I've just always thought that way. But like no, I really want to explore.
Mm. I think Maddie O'Neill has done a good job of starting to broaden her with the Matt.
Yeah.
She's got Madhouse Project, and just
Oh,
branching
yeah.
out a
Love
lot. I
that.
think I would love for you guys to connect and kind of have a conversation around that. She's
Oh, totally.
she's definitely kind of really, I think, firing on all cylinders. So
Absolutely.
wow. Well, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thanks for sitting down. Do you have any
Yeah.
anything, any last words, any last topics you want to chat on?
Oh, I'm sad it's coming to an end. Yeah, no, I mean, we've covered a lot. I feel like I've definitely been able to express, you know, what's been on my mind with my journey and my progress as an artist. And I'm just super thankful for you providing this platform and space for me to do so. And
Oh,
I just,
absolutely.
yeah, like I hope the people listening can get something out of it. And I guess I want anyone that's listening to feel welcome to reach out to me, because I always like I'll talk to anybody as long as you're being respectful. And I just I want to help everyone in their journey. And
Love it.
yeah,
If someone wanted to reach out, just maybe like an Instagram DM or Twitter or something like that.
Instagram is great. I do look through like the requests. I try to, you know,
Mhm.
but I also lately have been trying to spend less and less time
Yeah.
on social media, because that's good for my mental health. But
Good idea.
But yeah, right. But no, yeah, Instagram DM is great. Like an email, like zenselekta@gmail.com. I'm not afraid to put it out there.
Nice.
But yeah, I would say either one of those two ways. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for being so open and being such a cool part of the community and doing your thing and sharing your story with us. It's been absolutely great to have you on, Nicole. And as things progress, maybe we'll have you on for another. You can tell us all the new happenings on the next one.
I would absolutely love that. Thanks you
All
so
right.
much.
All right. Talk soon. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Bye.